The Acts of Congress is a book, and it's one of the most important books that George Washington owned, and now it resides here at Mount Vernon in the Washington Library. It's an extremely important book, it was a very valuable book, and it helps us really understand the mindset of George Washington right at the moment he's creating the office of the presidency. George Washington becomes president in April of 1789, the first president under the Constitution. The Congress that's created by the Constitution meets for the first time from March to September of that year. And that Congress, the first Congress of the United States, it does a tremendous amount. And at the end of all that great work, it's an extraordinary session of Congress, of which George Washington was the president, so he signed all those bills into law. They printed out what they did, and they gave George Washington a book that collects all the acts that they passed, all the laws that they passed, and they gave it to him. So we have his actual copy of that book. We also can see how he read the book. So sometime between receiving that book in September of 1789 and when he gives the first State of the Union address in January of 1790, he sits down, he rereads that book, and he marks it up. In the opening pages of the book is a copy of the United States Constitution. So he clearly is sitting down and rereading that Constitution as he's preparing for the first State of the Union address. And that's an extraordinary thing, because here we see his signature in the book, but we also see his hand in the margins, and he rarely writes in his book at all. The first article of the Constitution is all about the legislative branch and describes the powers of the legislature. And in those areas where the powers are mixed with the presidency, like the veto power or the power to negotiate treaties with the Senate, George Washington takes a beautiful hand and makes a little bracket and writes president. So you know that this is him, he's the president, and he's looking at what he's supposed to be doing. Article 2, even better, is all about the executive branch, all about his branch, all about the presidency. So at the very beginning where it says that the executive shall be vested in the president, he writes president next to that. And you're like, okay, now it's getting serious. He's reading that like a job description, like anybody would read, what am I supposed to do in this job? And he gets down to the part where it says, president shall have powers, and in the margin he writes, president powers. And then below that, where it says he shall take care the laws be faithfully executed, he writes required.